Want to run faster, jump higher, move with more power? The Sports Recovery and Development Program at Bridges Therapy Group builds speed, strength, agility, and endurance while correcting movement issues that can cause injury. Give your athlete the edge. Schedule an assessment today at srdathlete.com.
If you just asked me over the last 10 years, how's it been? You, it's been pretty good considering that we went through a school split. I've learned more about just the heart of the kid. And I think that's what's important. I'm still a husband and a father. And so I always have to wrap my mind around, I can't let this job affect my ability to be a great husband and a great father.
This is Varsity Vibe Stories brought to you by Lewis Automotive. It is never easy to replace a legend in any sport, especially when that guy is Barry Lunney Sr., who has 8 state championships to his name, 4 at FS Southside and 4 at Bentonville. So when Jody Grant took over the Tigers football program in 2015, promoted from the defensive coordinator position to the head coach, he knew that he had big shoes to fill. The last time Bentonville won a state title was in 2014. And although they've been close, like falling last year in the title game to Bryant, it is the missing piece of his head coaching resume. Heading into 2025, he's got the pieces, he's got the talent, he's got the experience. Join me for my conversation with Coach Grant as he gets ready to write the next chapter of Bentonville football. When you look at the group that you have and the talent that you've brought back, how are you feeling heading into the season?
Well, this is a group that I've been excited about for a long time. When they were freshmen, this group that's seniors now was they went 10-0. It was very impressive how they played, just played well together. So they've been a big part of our program for the last several years. And, now it's their time to be seniors and it to be their moment. It's a fun group. It's a talented group. We got depth in a lot of positions. We will be heavy senior this year. But this is a chance for us to have another really good year and hopefully finish it off a little better than we have in the past. And what I like about this group is they have that same mindset as I do. It's like this is it. It's time to do this. And their work ethic and their practice habits and how they are in the weight room mirror those, same things. So it's exciting to see us go through fall camp and enter the non-conference season that's coming up very soon.
You have Cole now really stepping into that starting quarterback role. He's had reps. He's been in games before, but how have you seen him really step up to the occasion during fall camp, during summer workouts, now that he's the guy back there?
Well, what I see is a guy who's really comfortable in his role. And I think that is because of his experience in the past. Having the opportunity to start 2 games as a sophomore due to the quarterbacks in front of him both being hurt. And they were big games. His first start is at a really talented Rogers High School team 2 years ago, followed by Springdale at home, and played really well in those games. And then last year got some quality time, played the whole second half against a very good Tulsa Union team. In the non-conference last year, we let him get a lot of reps. So he's gotten, for a non-starter, returning starter, he's gotten a lot of quality reps versus quality opponents. So he's ready. He's smart. It's important to him. So we're just looking forward to seeing him go out there and do what he's supposed to do.
He's also back there in the backfield, got Chris and James with him, which I don't know if there's a better 1-2 punch and running back there than what you guys have. How has that been able to maybe take some weight off of his shoulders a little bit back there?
Yeah, so I've talked to him a little bit about that. It's like, don't try to be the hero. Just get the ball to your people. You've got great running backs. You've got great receivers. Just operate the offense and let it happen. And he understands that. He, like I said, he's a very intelligent kid and understands how to read defenses and understands our offensive scheme. And I just tell him, a lot of times when we're doing RPO stuff, I tell him you're never wrong by just handing the ball to Chris Fickler. Like, that's always okay to do. And, he understands that. And so, James Pratt's a kid we got to get the ball to. We got to find ways to get him touches because he's very talented. But that's a good problem to have, is to have multiple backs and the way we want to run the ball and do things, especially with the way teams will play us with having the receiving core that we have. It could open up some running opportunities for us. So it's going to be fun to watch it all develop out.
I know you're biased, but why is that duo of Chris and James so special back there?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think one thing I say about both those guys is very unselfish kids. They don't get caught up in touches and touchdowns and all that stuff. We could have a guy run down the field for 3 or 4 carries and get down inside the 5 and sub out the other guy, and they're going to be supportive of each other. They're not going to be frustrated that they're not going to get the touchdown. It's just they're friends. They understand their role. I think James Pratt is probably one of the best teammates in our program, just supportive of everybody. Chris Ficklin just is a workhorse and has got a great attitude, also a great teammate. So we're blessed and spoiled a little bit to have those two.
So let's look at some other weapons around the offense. You have Blair Irwin, who is committed to Arkansas. And then, in the summer, you pick up Daquan Prevost, who comes over from Texarkana to play for you guys as well, also committed to the Razorbacks. How fun do you think those two are going to be to watch this season?
Well, it's been fun watching them in practice so far, and it's just like we already felt good about our receiving room, and then Daquan Prevost comes in, and you always worry about how that mesh will work, having another big time player come in your program, and it's been awesome. He is just a great kid. Our whole team has embraced him. The community's embraced him. He's going to be great. He is also a very selfless player. One thing I just am impressed about him is he comes in and he's studying in the playbook. He wants to learn. He's willing to block on the perimeter. Obviously, he wants the ball, but he's very supportive of others when they get it. Having both those guys, 2 Razorback commits at the wide receiver position, is going to give fits to defensive coordinators across the conference. The good thing is like we still got some other dudes that are pretty talented as well. So Conrad Schmitz played for us an all-conference receiver last year. Like he would be the top receiver on most people's teams. And Jack Dunn's like that. Caden Brown, who runs a 10-500. You don't see that very often. So we've got some threats at the receiving position, which is going to be fun. Now it's just about distributing the ball and utilizing them all and having efficiency with our offense, utilizing all the guys.
Well, you're a longtime DC, so let's talk about the defensive side of the ball and what you really like about those guys over there on that side.
Yeah, so our defense has really had a good fall camp. It makes me excited about them because they're fast. They've played together a lot. You don't know how well you are as a team that tackles until you really get into game mode, because we'll tackle to the ground some, but we do a lot of thud tempo. So that's my only question mark, is how solid are we going to be with open field tackling? I think that's probably true for everybody at this point in the season, because we will do some to the ground tackles, but we don't do it all the time. And so, but the way they get to the ball, the way they're flying around, creating turnovers, the communication piece on defense is there. I'll start up front with our defensive line. All 3 of our guys are coming back. Kellen Rona, at times he's one of the best players on the field. One of the strongest kids we've ever had in our program. He plays nose for us. When he uses the proper technique, he is dominant. Julian Grundy has only gotten better from a really good year last year. Both those guys dealt with injury last year. If we can keep those 2 healthy, they both have a chance to be all-state performers for us. And then Robbie Dubray, he started for us last year at the other defensive end position. He's just a workhorse, undersized but smart, strong, does what we ask him to do, and makes a lot of plays doing so. And so you got those 3. We're 3 guys returning on defensive line is special. At linebacker, we have 3 of our 4 linebackers returning. So an all-state and 2 all-conference performers. And then we're kind of competing for the other inside linebacker spot, but we like the 2 or 3 guys that are working in there. And then in the secondary, we return all-state corner Tristan Brown, and then we'll have some new faces at safety in the other corner. But they're very talented, smart, got good speed. So I'm excited about where we're at defensively.
Well, you paint a picture of what looks like could be a successful 2025 season. And I know that the one thing you guys want to do is win a state title. You were there in 2022, 23, 24. And I know when you're out on the field and there's that banner that's on the side of the indoor, the last state title was 2014. It's been close. What is it about this team that can add another year to that banner when it's all said and done?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question, because it's something that we've had to try to answer for the last several years. And it's, I don't want to downplay what it takes to make it to be a state runner-up, because that's impressive too in itself, especially in Class 7A. But that's not what our goal is to be the runner-up. We want to win this thing. Really, it comes down to what I think the last 2 years is we made too many mistakes in the most important game. And so we've kind of reiterated how important the little things are, and just being intentional about that throughout the off season and fall camp, because just a penalty, an unnecessary penalty or a turnover really was the decisive factor in the last 2 state championship games. I mean, you could say there's more than that, but when you go back and really break it down. And so here's what the kids hear me say is we've got to get better each week and be playing our absolute best football in the playoffs with one of the cleanest games we can play in War Memorial in Little Rock. And if that happens, you got to have luck go your way. You got to avoid injuries. But if that can happen, it gives us our best chance.
You took over in 2015. You took over when legendary head coach Barry Lunney decided to retire. You've led this program now for over 10 years. What's it been like to take over, understanding what that means? And now 10 years later, you've had success. You just haven't won that state title yet as a head coach.
Yeah. First of all, I was blessed to learn under Coach Lunney. You know, he's been my mentor. He's still my mentor. He still comes around. He was at practice yesterday. He's just there to be around. He, still loves being around kids and being around our coaches, and just loves the game of football. So obviously we always welcome him to come and watch, and he'll watch. And I always ask him, I said, give me feedback and shoot me straight. Like, tell me if what doesn't look good. And he does. And I appreciate that about him. But, the last 10 years has been fun. It's been interesting. I feel good about, if you just asked me over the last 10 years, how's it been? It's been pretty good considering that we went through a school split. Half of our students went to another high school, but we still maintain a lot of success and still are a factor in conference and state each year. And so that's not easy to do, especially after, you lose half your kids to another school. So I credit that to I have a really good staff. I have kids that that trust the coaches, trust me and our staff, and that are coachable and willing to learn. And, once you are a part of a program like this, where the culture's good, the understanding and the standards are set, it really kind of runs itself. You just got to help make sure it doesn't deviate off. And that's what I've been blessed with is, first of all, taking over after a great head coach who had set the bar real high. And then I just had to maintain it and just continue to grow it. And so it's been good. Obviously, I'd love to foresee for the community and for the school and just for our program and our kids, us win a state championship. I was thinking about this in a conversation the other day. Since I've been at Bentonville with Coach Lunney and myself, I think we've coached in 11 or 12 state championship games. And so as a coach, you dream of that, the opportunity to coach in that many state championship games. Obviously, as an assistant, we've won 4. I was a part of 4 of them here, and I've been a part of 4 of them as a head coach. But we've lost those 4. And so we got to get over that hump. That's not a label that we want. We don't want to be the Buffalo Bills who lost 4 in a row Super Bowls. And so, we gotta do it. Can't talk about it. We got to win it. So, that's what we focus on. We don't talk about just getting there. We talk about winning it when we get there. But we also have to be respectful of how hard it is to get there, because there's really good competition in Class 7A, both in the West and in the Central. So there's no easy games.
The Tigers started the season in 2024 0-3, and Coach told me after that start, he said there were fans out there who wanted to fire me after that, and he understood, but at the same time, it didn't rattle his locker room, didn't rattle him as a coach because of the foundation that Bentonville football has built. Coming up after this, he shares more about that journey and how he feels he's changed as a coach over the years.
If you're an athlete that wants to improve your game, maybe improve your 40, jump higher, have better agility, Bridges Therapy Group's Sport Recovery and Development Program can help. They've been helping student athletes reach their highest potential for quite a while now. They've got a team that includes physical therapists, athletic trainers, personal trainers, and occupational therapists. And together, they design individual plans to build speed, explosive power, agility, strength, and endurance. Whether your athlete's returning from rehab or working for for a competitive edge, SRD provides the training and guidance to help them succeed. Schedule your athlete's assessment today at srdathlete.com.
Quick Turf is the go-to team for building championship-level sports facilities for public schools, private schools, and the entire school district. They also install beautiful backyard putting greens for homeowners. Known for lifelike, eco-friendly turf, Quick Turf handles everything from design and lighting to drainage and final landscaping. Their all-in-one approach delivers high-performance surfaces for athletes and low-maintenance greens that last for years. With preventative maintenance programs, they keep every field and green looking game day ready. Schedule a free consultation today at quickturf.com. That's QIKturf.com.
Matt Lewis with Lewis Automotive Group, excited to announce our trade-in, trade-up event. During this event, you get thousands extra for your trade value. Plus, it's all backed by the Lewis Guarantee. Double the factory warranty. That's a 10-year, 120,000-mile powertrain. Plus, you get 1 year worth of maintenance on us. This event's only going on at Lewis Automotive Group and is at all of our locations in Fayetteville, Springdale, and Farmington.
Could a little extra support help your child shine even brighter? Bridges Therapy Group empowers kids to live their best life with expert pediatric therapy services tailored to their needs. Their team offers occupational therapy, speech therapy, and physical therapy, guiding families from the first evaluation to every milestone along the way. Give your child the tools to succeed and shine. Visit btgpeds.com to learn more and schedule your appointment today. That's btgpeds.com.
How have you grown as a coach over the years?
Yeah, well, I've got a lot more gray hair. This job does that to you, but I've learned a lot. I remember being an assistant, thinking I had all the answers, like what the head coach should be doing, and I've always heard head coaches say you don't know what it's like to be in this chair until you're in this chair, and there's so much truth to that. I try to mentor other new head coaches just to help them have through what I kind of went through, because it's not easy. Truthfully, when you're a head coach, it's less about football and more about just everything else. There's so much. I have a team of 150 kids, and every one of those kids has a story, mm-hmm. and I have to learn about those kids and their families and what's going on. I mean, we deal with so many things. I've had two of my players pass away. They don't give you a class like that in college to teach you how to handle that. I've had to have conversations with kids about their parents going through divorces and so much just going on in people's lives. I think to answer your question, what have I learned is I've learned more about just the heart of the kid. And I think that's what's important. That's probably what I want my legacy to be when I leave here, is like Coach Grant was a player's guy. He looked out for the kids first, and then the championships and the wins came because of that. That's my hope.
What is some pieces of advice? You talk about Coach Lunney still being around and being such a mentor to you. I was curious, maybe some things that he taught you that you still remind yourself maybe daily, time to time, as pieces of advice as you continue this head coaching career of yours?
Yeah, he just, I think if I could take a lot from him, holding kids to a high standard mm-hmm. is important, because some people aren't bold enough to do that as a coach or as a leader or whatever. And it's not easy. It's not easy because you feel like you're on kids about everything, but kids want to be held accountable. And I believe that wholeheartedly. And Coach Lunney taught me that. Sometimes as parents of our own kids, we get so tired of disciplining them, we don't even hold our own kids. I'm referring to myself as a father here. We don't even to a standard, but we're willing to hold other people's kids to a standard. So that's something that I think is important that I've learned. Mm-hmm. The value of just the relationship with your coaching staff. Coach Lunney mentored all of us on his staff, through our own issues, our own stories. He promotes his faith. He doesn't shy away from that, which I appreciate and have learned and try to continue. He helps you if you're having, marital issues or just struggles within your marriage. He was always there for just fatherly advice. I used him a lot. My son was our quarterback last year. He coached his two sons, Barry Lunney Jr. and Daniel Lunney, to state championships when they were played for him. And so I think he would tell you he got one of them right and one of them wrong. And so I always said, well, tell me, I want to know what you learn from kid to kid, so I could do a good job for my own son, because that's not easy to do. And so I could go on and on about what I've learned from Coach Lunney. I'm blessed to have him keep coming around, and he just comes around just to check in, not just on me, but my staff pretty much is still intact from when he was here. So he's just a blessing to a lot of us.
How do you think the game has changed? I'm curious, as a head coach on the high school level, as we have seen college change and adapt so much over the last 10 years, has that rippled down into the high school ranks? Has that changed the game a little bit too?
I think the game has changed. I think football now compared to maybe 15 years ago is, as far as advancement and knowledge in what you do, is on steroids at this point. I mean, it's so, when I started to what it is now, not just in the scheme of football, but just in what we do as a whole, as far as spring workouts, summer workouts, early morning workouts, just what we ask of kids in our program, and not just everybody does it. So we've turned this football thing into a full-time deal. I don't know if that's good or bad. I think that's to be determined. As far as kids go, I see both in it.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'll look back on things and think, I wish I'd have done them different, or I was glad I did it that way. But, the game is changing a lot. I think we deal with kids, to me now, put more pressure on themselves as an athlete.
Mm-hmm.
And I ask kids all the time in our discussions, it's like, what in your life puts the most pressure on you? And they say in a roundabout way, they not living up to the expectations of like their mom or dad,
Mm-hmm.
in sports, in academics, or any of that. So nothing against parents. I think parents all have high expectations and want the best, but we sometimes don't realize the pressure we're putting on our own kids. So I have to remind our kids all the time. I say, why do you play this game? Why do you play football? And, my goal is for them to say, and they usually say, it's because it's fun. I love this game. I was like, let's never forget that. Like, we're playing this. I coach it because I love the game and it's fun. You're playing it because you love it. Let's make sure we're keeping it fun. And sometimes we forget that because there is so much pressure. There's pressure on me as the head coach. I'm in a program where they expect to win. We were 0-3 last year, and people, I think, were ready to fire me. And as crazy as that sounds, that's the way it is. I don't know that they were really starting the paperwork or anything, but when Bentonville was sitting at 0-3, there were some question marks. In our football family, we knew we would get it going because it was a lot of it had to do with our competition. But there's a lot that goes on with football, and it's a lot. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I think that's, for me, I'll determine that when I'm away from the game. But the football has changed, but it's not all been bad. There's been a lot of good things that go with this, and football's a beautiful game, and it teaches so many life lessons. And I'm impressed with the kids that play football in high school that don't necessarily aren't guys that play every down, and they're just role players. And the fact that they stick with what we ask them to do and stick with it is probably one of the most impressive things that I see, because they don't get the spotlight, and but they're still doing everything we're asking everybody else to do. So I know that's a long answer to your question, but that's where I'm at on that.
Yeah. What's been the most rewarding thing for you as a head coach over these last 10 years?
Yeah, I think that you would think like wins and certain championships, but for me, like, the thing that probably means the most to me is when former players come back to our practices, or they come back to our games, or they text me after a game that they watched it. And I had a young man that is in school at University of Alabama, played for us 3 or 4 years ago, just stopped by practice early this week, and I asked him, I was like, it's the second or third year in a row, and I said, it's great to see you. He's heading back to Tuscaloosa for school, and I said, why is it that you keep coming by? And he said, this is the place that molded who I am. This is where I learned all my lessons in life. This is why I'm about to go to med school and be successful. It's because of this program and this facility and these people. That, to me, is like, that's the ultimate. That's the goal. That's what we're trying to do. That's just one example. We've had kids. I have a story of a kid that got arrested, got in trouble, and when he got released out of jail, he walked to the stadium. And because we were the people he knew, cared for him the most, his family situation wasn't good. He didn't know where to go. He came to see his coaches. this is 3 or 4 years after he's been, out of high school. Asking him, why are you coming here after that situation? He said, I'm just turning to people I know won't criticize me, and they'll help me and love me and care for me, because that's what he remembered as part of our program. That to me is probably the most special thing for me, getting to be the head coach here.
When you get ready for each season and you are ready, the preparation is done, the game plan is done. Do you have a routine? Do you have something that you go to yearly to just get yourself ready for each season?
That's a good question. I think my role is such a routine. I think most coaches, they know what every month, every week, every day is just so routine. I don't know that there's anything that's a go-to for me in a sense of to get me ready. I do have to get my mind right and wrapped around the fact that coming late July, or it's on, and it's a lot of hours, it's a lot of time, it's sleepless nights, it's a lot of phone calls and text messages and all that, with all the hours of film study that we do and putting out fires left and right. It's exhausting. I'm still a husband and a father, and so I always have to wrap my mind around, I can't let this job affect my ability to be a great husband and a great father. So really what I use the dead period for is just to remind myself and reflect on my sole purpose. But I love what I do. It's not a job to me. It's a passion and a calling, and I've never come to work dreadful of it, wishing, there's times where I'd love to be able to take more vacations and do more things, but the time doesn't allow for that. But to me, as long as I can keep doing this with the energy and passion that it takes to do a job like this, I'm gonna hang on to it, because it's a blessing to get to do this. This is, to me, is one of the best gigs there is.
It's the best time of the year. It's just getting started. Really enjoyed catching up with you, Coach Grant, and best of luck this season. We'll be around. I know that this won't be the last time we're talking to you as the season unfolds, and so good luck to you and the Tigers.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on.
A big thank you to Coach Grant for spending the time with us to talk about his journey and this upcoming season. The Tigers open up the year against Tulsa Union on Friday. Thank you for listening on this edition of Varsity Vibe Stories. A special shout out to our sponsors, Lewis Automotive, Bridges Therapy Group, Lindsay Management, and Quick Turf. I'll see you next time with more stories to tell.